Hello and welcome to a new tuning lesson. So still on 3 strings, but I have swapped one of them out to create a slightly different sound. So I'm not sure if people have done this before, but I had a go and I think it sounds great. So what I've done is, I'm sure you're hopefully aware by now that our standard tuning is GDG. Well, on this one I have swapped out the top string and put on a B. So that makes it a major chord. So instead of being a power chord, where it's more of a neutral sound, we have a major, which gives us different possibilities. You know, they're both great, but it's nice for a bit of variation. So that's what we are looking at today. And let's just check the tuning. So we have G as the low string, D as the middle string, and B as the high string. So whereas previously in G, D, G tuning, we have to go up to fret 4 to create a sound of a major chord, or probably even more importantly, say if you're barring, for example, C is at fret 5, very common chord. If we want to do what we call a major chord, we've got to get all the way up to fret 9, which is a bit of a stretch, or even we are dropping down and sort of using an open string, but it's still a bit of a stretch. A lot of people sort of complain about that one. Well, when we go back to the other tuning, instead of pushing down at fret 4 to create a major chord, that note is now the open string. So it means we don't have any difficult, nasty stretches if we want a C major. So, and what that means is if you ever want to play, I'll just go to this angle here, if you ever want to play any minor chords, so I'm hoping you're okay with barring, so it's just where you're clamping your finger across the strings. If we want a minor, if we take that note there, which gives the chord the major sound, knock it down by 1 fret and you have the minor. So instead of barring, you just go finger 1, finger 2, finger 3. So they're on fret 5, that's on fret 4, and that gives us a C minor. So C major, C minor. So pretty handy. And what's happening is, basically, if you think about a regular set of 6-string guitar strings, then previous GDG tuning is using the 5th, 4th and 3rd strings. That's what we normally do, unless you get like a custom pack. And then, you know, we tune up accordingly. But here we've effectively got the 5th, the 4th and the 2nd instead. So there's quite a bit of a distance between the middle one and this one. So here's a set of strings. I've just used the, as I said, the 5th, the 4th and the 2nd ones from here. And these are 12, a set of 12s, 12 gauge on the top string. Goes all the way down to 52, so they're pretty heavy. And I've used the 5th, which is 42, the 4th, which is 32, and the 2nd, which is a 16. So they're almost like a string heavier than a regular set of 10s if you ever use them. Now these are wound, so the 3rd string, the G is wound, but you can get unwound ones which are red pack, and they're very similar sort of gauge, so I'd recommend something like that. But you can experiment to see what works for you. So I'm going to have a look at some sort of bluesy slide tunes, like little sort of riffs that you can have a look at in the next couple of videos, which sound really good. I quite like this tuning, but just in this one, I personally find if I'm trying a new instrument with different tuning, I quite like to try a few different chord shapes. Just helps me kind of get my bearings with it basically and see how it's different to previous ones. And so we're just going to do very simple blues, and we'll just use, say, G, C and D, but in some slightly different open shapes as well. So first of all, let's have a few different options for G, and that's a G major. If we want a G7, which is great for blues, you can just push down on the middle string on fret 3. That works pretty well. If you want a nice sort of riff type thing, you can go for fret 3 on the top 2, and that's still kind of a G7. They've just made it sound slightly different, a bit more neutral. And if we want to go quite high, we can go up to fret 8 and 9 on the top 2. That's still a G major. Okay, and incidentally, if you ever want to go minor for G, that's the note that makes it sound major, so that's the B, same as the open string 1. If I knock it down a fret, I can just do a little clamp there, or use two fingers, whatever works for you. So that's at fret 8, and I've let the bass one ring out. And if we're going for C, so exactly the same as with our standard tuning, that is major, fret 5, and if I want to go for a sort of bluesy thing, now we've done this in standard tuning. You can add in on the middle string, say 2 frets higher at fret 7. So that's a nice riff. I'll show you that for the G as well. But you can, if you want to do a 7th chord there, you can say add this finger in at fret 8. So that's exactly the same actual shape as what you were using for the normal GDG tuning, but it just sounds a bit different because it's got that major one on top. And D, you could just do obviously exactly the same thing in terms of the bars. So D's fret 7, same as before, but D major, not power chord, bluesy riff, 7th chord. So that's fret 7, that's fret 10. And again, you just try not to catch the strings underneath. Okay, so that's all pretty similar to what hopefully you've already had a little go at. But if you want to do some open chord shapes, so C. Now, you have a G note in a C chord, so I'm just going to actually leave this ring in, to be honest. I think it's probably the easiest thing to do. So that's just fret 1. On the high string 1 and fret 2 on the middle string. So sounds quite nice. If you want to play a 7th, a C7, you can try and do a straight diagonal all the way up. So you can try and add, say, finger 3 in on fret 3. Kind of sounds a little bit funny on its own, but if kind of works in context if you play it amongst some different C shapes. Then D. So now previously we were like that for our DGD tuning, but let's go like this. So this actually gives us a D major. So open middle string, fret 2 on the bottom string, fret 3 on the top string, trying to catch the middle string. That gives us a D. If we want to do a D7, we can go to fret 1. And just to keep things simple, I'm going to use a pick for this. We'll look at some fingerstyle later on. So just standard bluesy lick. So you can just do a little strum. You can just put that on there, fret 2 on the middle string. The same as what you do if you bar here, middle middle string, so that's the C with that little bluesy bass riff, D. And for both of them, like I was saying earlier on with the 7th chords, and so on. Yeah. So I'm just going to do a couple of simple 12 bars, and I'll start with that bassy sort of version, and then I'll see if I can start incorporating some of those different G shapes. I can even play it there if I want, so I can go from fret 3 and 3, 3 and 5, 8 and 9, and so on. And then we've got the C, we've got the C7, we've got the C up there, we've got the D, we've got the D7, we've got the D up there. And then finally, if you wanted to do a turnaround, you could either use 2 fingers or you could just bar the top 2 strings. So fairly similar sort of position to what we've done previously, but normally we were just on the middle string. Now we're actually going to play across the top 2. So you can strum it, or you can pick the individual strings. There's the turnaround. So this is going to have a shuffle. So they were like little triplets there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the 3rd bar. Change to C. Back to G. To D. There's the 7th. There's the 7th again. And turn around. Let's do some different chord shapes. Fret 12 works. Then C. There's the 7. Okay, so what you could do is, if you can get your guitar in this same tuning, you could rewind the video and have a little jam along with that, see if you can come up with some things over the top. Hopefully it's fairly slow for you, so you know, manageable, and make sure that you know how to play a 12-bar cycle as well. So plenty of like previous videos of explaining that. And so, like I was saying, I'm going to have a look at a couple of like bluesy slide licks in the next couple of lessons, so give you something to get your teeth into, and we'll see how popular all this is, see how much people like this particular tuning. I may well sort of revisit a few classic chord songs and look into some of the shapes in a little bit more detail, because you actually find that they're a bit less stretchy, they might be a bit more manageable for some people, and so we might revisit some classic Eagles, Dylan, to name a few, maybe a bit of Neil Young, something like that. But I hope that's fun. Have a play along with all this, and I will see you very soon with some more GDB major tuning in the next lesson.